I'm going to move along to panel 2 on public relations, media, and branding strategies with our moderator, Eleni Farmakis. Eleni.
Hi guys, can everyone hear me? We good? Awesome, technology. Hi, as Chris mentioned, I'm Eleni Farmakis. I am based in New York and kind of in New York now. I'm actually in Georgia, where I'm from, but I work in public relations, specifically in pharmaceuticals and crisis communications. So been in New York for about 8 years and excited to host this panel. We've got 3 amazing communications professionals with us today, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then they're going to share a little bit about themselves as well. So Tavia Sharp is the founder of Styled Sharp, and she is a renowned fashion stylist, image consultant, and business communications lecturer with over 15 years of experience in designing menswear for brands including Nautica and Macy's, as well as having served as the head designer at Calvin Klein. She also owns her own women's swimwear line, sold at Anthropologie and Urban Outfitters, so that's a win. And she's also celebrated for her ability to help corporate clients and young professionals redefine their personal brand, creating a visual impression that is uniquely and perfectly suited to them. Next, we have Larendee Roos, who is the founding CEO of Roos Advisors, a consulting, talent recruitment, and retention firm. She has worked with over 200 management teams ranging from startups to publicly traded companies in several different key business sectors. She's also a certified hypnotherapist, an ordained ministerial counselor, and certified sales, marketing, and business coach. And last, we have Anthony Kazazis, who is the director of the NYC Network Group, as well as the NYC Real Estate Expo, which is a one-day event bringing together multiple panels, networking exhibits, and exhibitions that bring together top commercial, residential, and real estate related professionals together in New York. For networking, Anthony is your man. Prior to this, he also owned and operated his own mortgage company, Gotha Equities, for over 15 years. So with that, I'm going to let you all get to meet these panelists one by one, and we'll start with Tavia.
Hi, thank you so much, Eleni, for that introduction. Yes, as Eleni said, I am a fashion stylist, personal branding expert, and I really use my skills in the fashion industry, working with both individuals and companies and brands and helping them with their professional image and whatever their goals are. So it's about using image as a tool to reach those goals. And when I speak about image, it's really multidimensional, because image is not just how we look, but it's also how we communicate ourselves. So it's our appearance, it's our behavior, it's our communication, and it's our digital presence, how we show up online and virtually here, and also, you know, where we live online, right? So our visual impression and how we show up is a powerful tool. So that's what I do.
Awesome. Larendee, do you want to go next?
So as a company, we're very skilled in every aspect of business development, sales, marketing, PR and communications, operations, human resources, and administration. And as part of the work that we do, we facilitate workplace seminars and training on diversity, effective communications. We also have a group that specializes in addiction recovery for executives, management and leadership training. And we specifically look at emotional intelligence, productive conflict, management and leadership training, so that we can support our company's most important assets, and that's their human capital. And I personally use my degree in psychology and 30 years in executive management and training and strategic intervention to bring about positive personal and professional transformation, and honored to be amongst this great panel today. Thank you.
Awesome. Anthony, take it away.
I want to thank Chris. I would like to thank Eleni, thank you. And I want to say hello to everybody. This is, so far, it was a great panel. Listen to all you guys, very informative. Thank you very much. My name is Anthony Kazazis. I am the director of the NYC Network Group, which is the owner of the NYC Real Estate Expo. And before we actually put on the NYC Real Estate Expo, we were in Queens County. at the Queens Real Estate Expo for 2 years. So now we're in the city. City is a great place to have your show, where you can have all the tri-state come to the city to be a part of all the panels and the exhibit. Again, we do have a tremendous amount of panels. We have solo speakers, panels. We team up with the media companies like The Real Deal, The Real Estate Weekly, The Commercial Observer, and we put on a great show for one day with about 6,000 professionals coming in and getting educated, and also meeting some exotic people like your big, your Durst or your Malcolms or your Denny's, and some big interesting people, and also us, the small fries as well. So anyway, looking forward to this panel, and thank you very much, and back to you, lady.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And we're all so excited to be here. I know it's a different environment, but hey, that's the world we're living in. And so I just want to preface a lot of these questions, and I know we kind of spoke about this earlier. It's all a little bit different now in light of COVID. So I think the panelists are going to have some very interesting perspectives on this, especially as we're talking about branding and PR and communication. So definitely going to be a very relevant panel, regardless of what field you're in, whether it's PR, whether it's business, whether it's finance. So I definitely want you guys to feel free to ask me questions, send in anything along the way, and I will do my best to multitask. So we'll start this off. Tavia, I'm going to give the first question to you. So we talk a lot about the importance of personal branding, especially for students and even for people who have started careers and are in careers. And what does that term branding really mean, right? We see it with businesses, but how does that apply to the actual person, to your image, to both your personal image, your professional image? There's a lot of different things involved. So Tavia, I'd love your perspective on this, based off of your own experience and work in this field. Tell us a little bit about that, and especially how for the future, for these students and for people that are graduating, again, for everyone, even for the professionals here in the room today, how does that relate to them?
Well, personal branding, I think of it as how we encompass our overall image, our vision, our values, our mission. So you want to think about your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So think about what's the impression you want to leave people with? How do you want to be perceived? How do you represent your roles, your goals? And you can do that through image, your appearance, the way you communicate yourself, the way you're showing up online, when people Google you, when they look you up on LinkedIn. All these things are your brand. So how do you communicate your values? How do you tell people about your vision? It's all about communicating it in that verbal, nonverbal way. And that's how I approach branding from that aspect. So you really want to think of yourself as like the CEO of Me Inc., right? So regardless of position or age or industry, you have a unique opportunity to stand out. And that's what you want to start to think about. How can I use that to express my goals and my roles and what I want to achieve, for my career?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And Tavia, with that too, I think in the world of LinkedIn and social media, what's your perspective on that? I think, for a lot of us, we have a personal Instagram or a professional Instagram. And even for me, I find, where does that line get drawn, and how much do I share of my personal life with business and that image that we're sharing on LinkedIn, especially too?
Well, I talk a lot about consistency because yes, we are social creatures, and now we're have all these different social networks, right? But when you're thinking about your career and how you're communicating yourself, that digital presence should have consistency. So if you're looking for a specific job, you do want to think about, are these headhunters, are these HR people looking me up online? They want to make sure you're the right candidate, right? They want to make sure that you're going to represent their company in a certain aspect or a certain light, right? Are you aligned with their goals, what they stand for? So I do think it's important to think about how much you really put out there. Some of the personal things, but just making sure it's consistent with who you are and how you really represent yourself. So just know that your digital presence is really communicate. I think now more than ever, right? Especially what's going on. I think it's really important to think about that as a tool. And if there are some things that aren't, you know, representing you in the best way, then you do want to think about that as a reputation, cleaning it up, and especially in the job search. And, you know, I think it's really key to make sure it's communicating the right things.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just curious, and I'm curious, Anthony and Larendee, your perspective too, but I feel like we talk about, ooh, I'm going to make my profile private or public. And do you really think it's private? I think I've always wondered that for employers. And again, I'm thinking for the students too, that have these brands or personal brands and things like that. Do you really think it's private? I think that's, that's a hot topic.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, you know, you shouldn't put anything out there that you really don't want to be seen. So it's better be safe than sorry. And one thing I want to say is that, because I do speak a lot with young professionals and people that are maybe just graduating, and I think LinkedIn is a very underused tool. So for me personally, it has been one of the ways that I have been able to build a network, whether that was, you know, my career in the fashion industry or even now as an entrepreneur. LinkedIn is something you really want to be thinking about building your brand around, especially when people Google your name. At least for me, it's like the third one down on the Google search. So we really want to be making sure that our LinkedIn, since it is a professional place to build your brand, make sure that you're really utilizing that and showcasing yourself. You know, use a photo, put the information about what you're looking for in there, and just don't forget that that's a super useful tool for you to build your brand.
Yeah, definitely. Anthony, Larendee, anything to add to that?
All good.
Yeah. No, super, super, super helpful. And thank you for that, Tavia. We'll go ahead and move to the next question. So, Larendee, this is for you. So I know we've talked a lot in some of the other panels about your passion and how does that set you apart, and do you do something you're passionate about, and how do you do it? So Anthony, or Larendee, I know you've had experience with this and combining your passion into the work you're doing. So I'd love to hear more about that and how you made the jump to do this and to make your passions come alive, and just your experience. So I'll take it away.
Thank you. I love to share around this topic. So as was already discussed this morning from some of the other speakers, I really do know that when we can remember the spark that is within us and ignite it, that is our brand. So that spark is within us, that light that is within us that does not dim. I always say, whether I'm a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, my role that I'm fulfilling at this time in my life, it doesn't really matter. So that spark is supported by whatever we do. And within that, then there's curiosity, an idea, a thought. And those ideas are the expression of who you really are. And ideas like love are one of the few things in life that the more we give them, the more they expand. So I really have been very fortunate, but I believe it was probably my karmic path to find that light within me from a very young age, and then whatever role I was fulfilling to be able to nurture that and then express that. So I always say that that light within you, that kernel, that seed that is within you is your brand. So what specific actions can I take then as a result of that? So I have kind of 5 actionable steps I like to share. And number 1 is to live in the question and live in yes. So I wonder what it would be like to self-express ... whatever that is. I wonder what it would be like to fully self-express as a swimsuit designer, as a branding professional, as a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, as an astronaut. So live in the question and live in yes. And then number 2, say yes to yourself and look for yes opportunities. Number 3, research, read, and learn. Learn from the best book. Learn from mentors was also already talked about this morning. You can look for a mentor you can look up to and desire to mentor yourself. And the greatest mentor you have is that divine within you. So give yourself the gift of internal meditation, contemplation, prayer, whatever that is for you. So, and then number 4, actively engage with everyone the universe brings to your door. Do whatever it takes to remain open so that you can learn from everyone who finds their way to you. And then number 5, step through your fear and fearlessly go where no one can go as you. All of us have a unique opportunity, again, a karmic path that we committed to that will help us as we continue through. And finally, just want to share briefly my own personal story. And that is that, you know, my journey started when I was 9 years old. I grew up in a very small town in Wyoming from very humble beginnings. And I learned pretty early that if I wanted extras, I would need to contribute. So I found someone to mentor me to build a paper route. And I sold the papers, delivered the papers in fairly harsh conditions, collected the bills for the papers going door to door. And I met with my mentor every week to learn how to grow that little route. And from that time forward, I was really privileged to work in a variety of positions, even throughout college, where I easily found myself in opportunities because I kept saying yes to be mentored and eventually hold leadership roles. And then in 1986, fresh out of college with a major in education, psychology, music, and theology, what do you do with that? I said yes to an opportunity to work in the restaurant industry as a trainer, and then landed at a firm with 3 entrepreneurs in the real estate and oil industry. And I share that because we are in a unique time right now, and there seems to be a lot of uncertainty in the world. But I just want to share that from the time I was there from 1986 until 2003, as a team, we lived through many, many setbacks that really turned out to be incredible opportunities, including the housing and development crisis of the late 80s, the Friday the 13th mini crash of 1989, 24% unemployment in the Northeast in 1991, and the list goes on. But finding myself in a situation where I could be mentored and say yes, I was able to hold many positions from executive assistant clear through until the time I left. I was the executive vice president of investor relations for the 2nd largest self-storage real estate investment trust in the United States. So through all of those opportunities, what did I keep doing? I kept going back to what that spark within me was, and I held different roles, different opportunities. So it wasn't a one thing, but it was an accumulation of a lot of different things, which leads me to where I am today. And I really am so privileged to be able to sit with small business owners and help them find that spark within them that then takes their dream and puts it forth in really incredible ways. So live in the question, live in yes, say yes to yourself and look for yes opportunities, research, read, learn from within and without, and then actively engage with everyone the universe brings to your door. Step through your fear and fearlessly go where no one can go as you.
Wow, I feel like we should just hang it up right there. I think that's perfect. That's amazing. And that's so inspiring and great, Larendee. And thank you for saying that. And I think too, something you mentioned about the part of saying yes, right? And, you know, sometimes I've been presented opportunities where I think to myself, well, that's not exactly what I want to do. And that's not exactly, you know, it doesn't fit in my perfect box of where I think my future is supposed to go, right? I think it's important in those situations, especially for the students on the phone. It might not look exactly like what you think it's going to look like, but it's the door that's open, right? And if you weigh the options and you weigh the risk and the opportunities, I think it's actually a gift to be given that opportunity, right? It doesn't have to be exactly, you know, it doesn't line up exactly, but it could ultimately lead to the place that you're supposed to be, right? And so I think that that's super important. I think a lot of times, even for me, when I was a student, I would say to myself, well, that doesn't fit into my dream to move to New York, or that doesn't. And it was interesting because even though that opportunity to me didn't look like it fit for my dream to move to New York, it actually led me to people through to taking that opportunity that ultimately got me to New York, right? So I think it's just really important to be open to what you're saying, just being yes. And I think that's so, so important. So no, that's a great, great point. One other thing you mentioned too about finding a mentor. And I think, I think it differs for different people. And I think sometimes we can be shy to speak up and say, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you show me how you do what you do? So, I know even for me, when I think of certain things I want to get more involved in, it's like, how do I ask somebody to be my mentor? They're busy, they don't have time. We're all, I was telling my mom the other day, we're in COVID, but we're still rushing and I still feel so busy, right? So it's like, what do you recommend for students, and even, again, for the professionals on the phone too, if you want to learn more about an industry or a certain passion project, how do you recommend reaching out to somebody to be their mentor? Is it LinkedIn? Is it connecting through a friend? I think that's super important, and I want to make sure that people understand that it's achievable and it's not some high off thing that I don't know how that's going to happen. So I'd love your perspective on that.
Well, first, I can only speak from my own experience, but a couple of things come to mind. Number one, I didn't learn till quite later in life that people generally want to be helpful, that people really want to help one another. It's part of our kind of human condition. When I studied with Tony Robbins, he said that there's 6 basic human needs, and right in the middle of those 6 human needs is the need to love and connect. And so generally speaking, people want to be helpful. Number 2 was always only my ego that kept me from asking. It was my ego that I thought I had to know it all, or I would be perceived as not expert enough or not smart enough, or whatever that was, that kept me from raising my hand and asking for help and asking for that guidance and assistance. And I have to tell you that the reason I'm here today is because I had a few mentors who really knew that as they mentored, so were they mentored. Mm-hmm. So the teacher shows up when the student is ready, and the student shows up when the teacher is ready. So in this mutual condition called humanity and connection, we learn together. So I love to mentor people because of what I learn from them. So please say yes. Please raise your hand and say, I want help, because that's really what it's all about for me anyway.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I always tell people too, people want to talk about themselves. People want to talk about their experience and how they got there. So it's even sending a LinkedIn message and saying, hey, I like your experience. I'd love to learn more about how you got there. People are going to want to talk. So I say that for everyone, because I do think that that's something that can sometimes hold us back. And you're totally right. It's an ego thing too. And it's just about stepping out and saying yes. So that's great. Anthony, the next question is for you. So right now we are currently in this time of social distancing, quarantining, you name it all, COVID. So I think especially for you with a lot of the networking events that you do, and just the value and importance you place on personal connections and in-person meetings and the value of a handshake, right? What's your take on all of this with the current COVID environment? How do we still have that connection in light of what's going on? Because the reality is, I don't think, in a month from now or 2 months from now, it's going to be quote unquote back to normal. So especially with your experience and networking, for the students here that are looking to have those networking opportunities in light of COVID, what do you recommend? What are some actionable things that they can do to still stay involved and network within this digital environment that we're in?
Basically, I guess the number one thing we are doing is what many of us have already started. And this is the virtual conference meetings. That seems to be taking off. There are so many of us doing this. There's going to be one probably there's going to be every day, every hour. There's going to be so many to choose from. So, I mean, because we're scheduled to have our expo on November 2nd, okay? And do I really think it's going to happen? No. I think that we have an alternative date. We put out a letter yesterday to everybody regarding the Expo with the alternative rain date is June 23rd. So we're praying that that's going to happen because there's really no substitute to a handshake, okay? It's the live gatherings, the live conventions, the live breakfast meetings and lunch meetings and dinner meetings, and I mean, all of that, it's just priceless for new business. We can't live without it. I mean, because it's real. It's hard for me because I'm old school. But we have to, again, reinvent the wheel. We have to do things that are new, that we're uncomfortable with. And basically, in order to, to come up with some new ideas, it's a wake-up call for all of us, because we all have to come up with new ideas on marketing and advertising just to survive. And so what are some of the things that we are doing? The things that we are doing is, again, starting the virtual conference meetings, number one. It seems to be nice. It's very different. I love seeing all the pictures up there. It's exciting, and hearing all the great thoughts and informative information, which is really, really priceless, guys. The second thing that's very important now, Google can help you with all this too. Create a blog, okay? Now, blogs are very, very good to have and to get it out there. We have a newsletter. Now, how do you do a newsletter? You really basically reach out to a lot of your us as a newsletter. We reach out to our media firms like The Real Deal, The Commercial Observer, the New York Real Estate Journal, all those, Habitat Magazine, Jeff Mann, and we ask permission to list their informative stuff that we like, that's news. And then bingo, you got yourself a newsletter. And it's very simple. Then you could also put some of your sponsors on the bottom, whoever's going to be paying you that wants to advertise, because everybody right now has a marketing budget, okay? And they don't know what to do with their money. They need to get out there and promote themselves. So creating a blog, creating a newsletter, it's very powerful. This virtual conference meetings, yes, you can charge for it. However, it's free to the consumer. Commercial Observer actually is charging $99. It's not free to them, but they got good constructive content, okay? And theirs, I think, is in a couple of days, but you have to pay $99 just to get on. And now they have about 20 or 30 great speakers. Now, what we're gearing up for, in that, again, it's all new, but I've seen it. It's an actual live virtual conference, Expo. So you're actually a person, you're in the conference room, you can open up the door to go into this meeting, or you can open up the door to go into this lecture. There's all these different lectures. You could then go up to a booth, click on the booth appears, and you're talking to the people with this chat. So it's like you're really there, but you're not there, of course. And but again, it's different. That's a cost factor. How much will it cost to make that platform? There's a cost of maybe 10, 15, 20, 30,000 for an amazing virtual platform. That's what we may have to do if June 23rd does not happen. We'll have to start creating these new platforms, okay? But right now, for survival, blogs, newsletters, another big thing right now is videos. We have a department, we have a video production where we could go online, do a video, you're online, and actually do imaging uploading. So you're speaking, but all these beautiful imaging uploadings are appearing, and then at the end it zooms in on you. And you can say, thank you for watching. This is, Eleni, regarding my business, and I hope to see you soon, and I hope to hear from you. So that's another way to survive. Videos, YouTube's big, pretty big. It's good stuff. Whenever I send out an email, there's 3 of my past expos on the signature. So whenever you're sending out a signature, oh my God, you should have at least 1 or 2 of these videos on there. It's priceless. It builds up your YouTube ratings and all that stuff. Again, is it hard to substitute for a handshake? No, but these things can help you. We're also creating what's called an online directory. We're getting into the publication business. So we're going to put together a beautiful ad, put it onto our directory that we usually give out the hard copy at the Expo, and we're going to make that online and just let it grow. Just let it grow. Keep on letting it grow. Make it bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's another way that we're going to have to survive, by making an online directory. Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Oh my God, all those
What do you
things
think
are
of
so,
TikTok?
they're like priceless.
What do you think of TikTok?
Oh, you know what? I said TikTok.
I want a professional opinion on TikTok. I don't know.
Eleni, I'm sorry. I said TikTok, but I'm not a pro on that yet. Okay, nor do I watch it. My wife and my children watch it all the time, but I don't. But they brag about it. All I know is that Barbara Corcoran has a TikTok account. So if she's got a TikTok account, we all got to get a TikTok account. So I mean, these are just some of the things. Now, Tavia was talking about LinkedIn, priceless, because with LinkedIn now, I have about 19,000 connections. My assistant has about 20-something thousand connections. And we're going to start to go out there, because if the Expo comes back, we want to make our live Expo we want to offer our Expo to everywhere around the world. And people will pay to come on board and watch the Expo, because everybody's fascinated with New York City. They're fascinated. They want to hear from Malcolm, who owns the Empire State Building. Yeah, exactly. They want to hear from Durst. They want to hear from Silverstein. They want to hear from these guys, Monian, all these guys that own the buildings in New York City. It's like Morocco. It's exciting. It's exotic. So they want to hear about it. So that's why. What's that?
New York and Greece, the only ones people are concerned
about. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Greece. Yes, you're right. So, guys, basically, and good old-fashioned sales calls. Get back to picking up the phone. I called Larendee the other day. Just pick up the phone and call and say hi. And people want to hear your voices, especially now in this time. And just get back to, because I'm old-fashioned. I like to pick up the phone and just call people and tell them about. I'm not an email guy. I'm more of a pick up the phone and sales guy. I run the Expo myself. The day of the Expo, I'll hire 20 people, 30 people to help me manage the Expo. But throughout the year, I do it myself. I just pick up the phone and call people. And if you don't ask, you'll never know. So pick up the phone and call them. Everybody's interested, because a lot of these big guys that own these buildings in New York City, these big guys want an audience. So they'll come, Some of the smaller people, like Barbara, will ask for a big fee or something. I'm saying, well, Barbara right now is becoming big, but a lot of these people want the audience. They want the audience. I'm talking about these big building developers that own these buildings. They want the audience. So, but Eleni, that's what we have to do to survive. That's it.
All right. And the last question for our speakers is, if there were 3 key pieces of advice you would give today's young professionals, what would that be?
I'll say it. Okay. So what I usually tell young professionals is make sure you're connecting wherever you attend, whoever you're going to, see, like an event like this, for example. If there's people on this call that you want to connect with them, reach out to them, build your network. I would say that's probably the number one most important thing. I can speak for myself. Building my network has been the most important tool in my entire career. It didn't matter if I was working, for a job, for a company, or for my own business. My network has been the reason why I have constantly gotten new business, new jobs. So I would say, if anything, that's it. Build your network, connect with the people that you want to connect with, and that will get you very far.
And I just want to share, pivoting off of what Tavia just said, it's so true. And that connection is so important. And guess what? It's one of the 6 basic human needs. So we're all craving it. We track the data in our company. We make those phone calls every day. And before our current situation, we were having about a 10% return rate of phone calls and solid connections. Our numbers since March 2020 are up to 18%. So we almost doubled. Why? because like Anthony said, people want to connect. And then finally, I just would say there's a place for everyone who has a desire to share their particular expression of the light within them. And there are those that you are meant to serve, and they are waiting for you. They are waiting for you to show up on the stage that they're willing to stand in front of, to receive guidance and mentorship and service from you in a way only you can do it. So find a mentor that will help you rediscover who you are and go for it.
Eleni, my thinking is that this is something that I want from my son. I want him to be a media marketing expert. No, like we just mentioned before, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff, Twitter. If you have the attention of the world, and it's priceless. And it doesn't matter who you're working for, they'll hire you in a second. If you're an expert on being able to, get the word out about whatever, the company that you're gonna work for or your own personal company. You have to be a practiced, persuasive public speaker. We all have to work on our public speaking. Get into speaking, learn how to be a great speaker. People love to listen to people that really know how to speak well, and be able to get information. The way I survive, guys, is I look at all the magazines and newspapers, and I find out who is advertising. Those are the people that are spending money on advertising and spending a big buck on the ads. Guess what? They may come to my expo and be a sponsor. So go dissect your papers, go after those people. We collect all those emails, and that's how we survive. So, being an expert, knowing your stuff, your small stuff with LinkedIn and all that stuff, speaking and collecting information. That's my best advice. And yes, givers gain, by the way. Give information, help people, because you gain if you help. I never ask for anything back, but it just comes back naturally if you help people. Many people are calling me up right now needing new jobs, or they don't know where they're going. And also, Larendee and I have become really close friends because I believe in her business. She acts like the CEO, COO of firms, of people that have to downsize. And it's valuable. And she's going to be on our live virtual meeting conferences, a whole series, the whole month of June. And I'll send it out to all you guys so you can listen to her. But valuable information here with Larendee. And I'm very proud to have met her and, be friends with her. Thank you, Lainey.
Chris, I'm going to kick it back over to you. I know we need to stay on time, which is hard for Greeks to do, but we're doing it barely. So, Chris, back over to you. And thank you again for everyone